All right, let's dive right into this explainer. We're going to uncover the astonishing truths behind Europe's earliest advanced civilization hiding right there on the Greek island of Crete. Picture this, a massive complex built nearly 4,000 years ago, loaded with colorful frescoes, actual indoor plumbing, and hundreds of twisting, mysterious rooms. It was a place so extraordinary that it absolutely captivated the ancient world. Welcome to the Palace of Knossos, the beating heart of the lost Minoan Civilization.
But to really wrap our heads around Knossos, we kind of have to confront the elephant, or rather the bull, in the room. Did the legendary Minotaur actually exist? Because for centuries, when people thought of Crete, they didn't picture a brilliant, thriving society. They pictured a giant, inescapable maze and a terrifying half-man, half-bull monster just lurking in the dark, waiting for its next victim. So let's take a quick look at the myth of the maze and the legend of King Minos.
We've all heard the old Greek legend, right? The cruel King Minos demanding innocent Athenians as sacrifices every single year, until the hero Theseus finally shows up, braves the labyrinth, and slays the beast using Ariadne's magical thread. It's an incredibly dramatic story, but historians actually think the sheer, mind-bending layout of the real palace, all those winding corridors and dead ends, is literally what sparked this blood-chilling myth. It wasn't a prison for a monster at all. It was just a really complicated, sprawling city.
Which brings us to the reality of Europe's first great civilization, the Minoan Empire.
The reality of the Minoans is honestly so jarringly different from those nightmare stories. We're talking about a society flourishing around 2000 BCE, way before classical Greece gave us things like democracy or the Parthenon. They were a peaceful maritime power. And here's the crazy part. Notice what's missing from their settlements. There are absolutely no massive defensive walls. Instead of hiding behind heavy stone fortresses, they built these gorgeous, wide-open palaces, relying entirely on their naval dominance and peaceful trade to keep everything prosperous. And the scale of Knossos is just mind-boggling. It covered nearly 20,000 square meters of land. To put that into perspective, imagine 4 entire American football fields, but fully dedicated to just one single royal complex. It was this massive economic hub, pulling in merchants from all over the known world and bringing unimaginable wealth right to the heart of Crete.
Even more unbelievable, inside that massive footprint, there were likely over 1,000 interconnected rooms. 1,000! Try to imagine being an ancient merchant from some tiny village, stepping into this absolute web of corridors, storage rooms, and courtyards. It is so completely understandable how someone could get hopelessly lost in there, and you can totally see how the legend of a terrifying, inescapable labyrinth was born from this very real architectural marvel.
But it wasn't just big. It was a palace completely ahead of its time.
The Minoans weren't just building big, they were building smart. They were using technology that the rest of the world basically wouldn't see again until the Roman Empire thousands of years later. The palace was a multi-level marvel. You had grand, sweeping staircases, royal apartments, and incredibly busy workshops right next to religious shrines. It functioned perfectly as a self-sustaining city. Artisans were crafting beautiful pottery right there, while deep down in the storage magazines, these massive clay jars held enough oil, grain, and wine to sustain the whole population.
Okay. This is absolutely wild. These ancient engineers literally installed sophisticated clay pipes for indoor plumbing. Yeah, you heard that right, clean flowing water and wastewater removal in 2000 BCE. And alongside that, they designed these super clever light wells. They were basically open vertical shafts built right into the architecture that pulled natural sunlight and cool breezes deep into the interior rooms, which was an absolute game changer for beating that sweltering Mediterranean heat.
And it wasn't just functional, it was stunning. The walls were covered in these vibrant, colorful frescoes. We're talking graceful dolphins, lush nature scenes, and, this is key, young acrobats performing these wildly dangerous, soaring jumps right over the backs of charging bulls. This was a culture that celebrated life and movement. And honestly, this real-world tradition of acrobatic bull leaping, that's almost certainly the real inspiration for the Minotaur myth. Except the Minoan bull wasn't some dark monster. It was a revered, majestic part of their vibrant daily life.
So that brings us to the fall of the Minoans and the unsolved mysteries they left behind.
Because what actually causes a society this beautifully advanced to just collapse almost overnight? Well, before we can even look at their physical fall, we run into a massive linguistic brick wall, Linear A. This is their written script, and it remains completely, stubbornly undeciphered to this day. It's incredibly frustrating. Their religion, their government, their everyday thoughts, it's all just locked away from us. We actually know way more about the conquerors who came after them, because their script, Linear B, was an early form of Greek that we can actually read. What we do know is that around 1450 BCE, absolute destruction swept across Knossos, and historians still fiercely debate what actually triggered the end. Was it the catastrophic volcanic eruption on the nearby island of Santorini that blotted out the sun? Was it massive tsunamis and earthquakes that shattered their naval fleet? Or was it a violent invasion by those Mycenaean Greeks who eventually took over? It was likely just a perfect, devastating storm of all these events that finally sealed their fate.
Let's look at how we finally went about rediscovering the labyrinth.
For literally thousands of years, all those grand staircases and vibrant frescoes just slept buried underground, slowly fading from a physical reality into pure myth. This timeline shows just how massive of a gap we're talking about, bridging their ancient foundation all the way to the fateful year 1900. That's when a British archaeologist named Sir Arthur Evans finally decided to start digging. He firmly believed the old labyrinth myths had a core of historical truth, and man, was he right.
Evans brought this absolute wonder back into the light. He uncovered thousands of incredible artifacts, the pottery and the actual clay tablets with that mysterious Linear A script. But he also took a really radical step that still shocks archaeological purists today. Instead of just preserving the ruins exactly as he found them, he started actively rebuilding parts of the palace. He painted pillars this deep, vivid red, and even used modern reinforced concrete to prop up the ancient ceilings.
And that brings up one of the biggest ongoing debates in archaeology today. Did Evans save Knossos by making it something the public could actually visualize and experience, or did his concrete additions forever alter the truth of history? A lot of people argue that what you see today is really just an early 1900s interpretation of the palace, not a strict reality. But on the flip side, without that bold reconstruction, we would really struggle to comprehend the sheer verticality and architectural majesty of the site when we visit it today.
So, as we wrap up this explainer on Europe's oldest palace, it leaves us with a pretty compelling question. Have we truly uncovered the reality of the labyrinth, or are its absolute greatest secrets still just waiting down there for future discoveries beneath the soil? It's a fascinating thought. The Palace of Knossos stands as this ultimate testament to humanity's ancient brilliance, a place where myth and history totally intertwine. Keep asking questions, keep exploring, and remember that sometimes the actual truth buried in the dirt is way more fascinating than any legend we could spin.